When did it all start? Today we take it for granted. It's like the internet. When it came, it was a novelty, something unexpected, exciting. Eventually everyone had it. Eventually the whole society was dependent on it. There are figures that indicate that ChatGPT has over 1 billion weekly users. It's like it's always been there, like we've always used it and now we take it for granted. This is not a video that digs into the absolute origins. We're scrolling back to modern AI and the LMM models we're used to. So, when did it all start? Modern LLM history starts in 2017 with Google's Transformer paper, and the study Attention is All You Need. But to understand why it was a shock, you have to know what an RNN, recurrent neural network, is, and what bottlenecks the transformer solved. Recurrent networks read sequences one time, step at a time, and pass around a hidden state as a carrier of memory. This makes them good at language and speech, but presents 3 classic problems. 1. Sequential training. 2. Vanishing, exploding gradients. 3. Limited context window. From the article. Transformer. A novel. Neural network. Architecture for language understanding. We read about neural networks and RNNs, and the authors refer back to the study, Attention is All You Need. And they also write, we introduced the transformer, a novel neural network architecture, and transformer requires less computation to train and is a much better fit for modern machine learning hardware, speeding up training by up to an order of magnitude. Why was it a big deal to skip RNNs? Well, in Transformer, self-attention is computed for all token pairs simultaneously, allowing training to be spread out across thousands of GPUs or TPU cores without sequential dependencies. Google demonstrated near-linear speed scaling back in 2017 from the Transformer paper. Furthermore, long context without gradient problems. Self-attention jumps directly between distant words in a matrix multiplication. So the gradient doesn't have to be propagated step by step through time, resulting in fewer vanishing problems. And when Vaswani et al. Published Attention is All You Need on Arcshev, the model beat the RNN-based machine translation systems of the time in both BLU scores and training speed. Wired later called the paper the invention of modern AI. But what is an LLM then?
LLMs are trained is that you take a piece of text, you remove some of the words in that text, you mask them, you replace them by blank markers, and you train a gigantic neural net to predict the words that are missing. And if you build this neural net in a particular way, so that it can only look at words that are to the left of the one it's trying to predict, then what you have is a system that basically is trained to predict the next word in a text, right? So then you can feed it a text, a prompt, and you can ask it to predict the next word. It can never predict the next word exactly. And so what it's going to do is produce a probability distribution over all the possible words in your dictionary. In fact, it doesn't predict words, it predicts tokens that are kind of subword units. And so it's easy to handle the uncertainty in the prediction there because there's only a finite number of possible words in the dictionary, and you can just compute a distribution over them. Then what the system does is that it picks a word from that distribution. Of course, there's a higher chance of picking words that have a higher probability within that distribution. So you sample from that distribution to actually produce a word. And then you shift that word into the input. And so that allows the system now to predict the second word, right? And once you do this, you shift it into the input, etc. That's called autoregressive prediction, which is why those LLMs should be called autoregressive LLMs. But we just call them LLMs.
That was Meta's Yann LeCun. Can we say that modern AI models were born in 2017? Yes and no. The foundation was laid then. It was only in 2019 that we were able to use the form of chat function that we are used to through APIs. At the same time, in 2019, there was a game, AI Dungeon, inspired by Dungeons & Dragons, where API keys from OpenAI were used. It gave the player the opportunity to seemingly chat with a real person given the AI's response. There were also other players like BlenderBot, Google Mina, Replica V8, and a WebGPT that was more of a help for research. It was only on November 30th, 2022, that OpenAI introduced ChatGPT, and ChatGPT met all the criteria for a modern interface first. It had continuous dialogue memory, context window, not just a single prompt, free use in browser/mobile without API key, generative LLM rather than answer drums like Mitsuku Kuki, which is pretty crazy. We've had 2.5 years of the modern form of LLMs, and already it feels like an eternity, like something we've always had. Was it all just a summer day? Not at all. Of course, there were challenges. A big challenge was and is security. In 2019, OpenAI co-founder Greg Brockman was on CNN.
Growing debates online are calling for an artificial intelligence company to release a text-generating program it deemed too dangerous to make public. The program, developed by the company OpenAI, can write coherent and credible stories just like human beings. And the creators fear bad actors would use a program to whip up deceptive, biased, or abusive language at scale. Now, OpenAI's co-founder and CTO Greg Brockman joins me now from San Francisco. Greg, thank you so much for joining us. Some people are saying release it. At this moment, would you even consider releasing GPT-2, your AI text generator?
So what we're working on right now is a process for responsible disclosure of this model. And so the way that we think about it is this model has very positive applications. And so we're talking to fiction authors, we're talking to researchers, figuring out how we can get this technology into their hands, while also making sure that we're able to keep it out of the hands of malicious actors. And it's not just about this model, right? That we're kind of at the cusp right now of systems that are powerful, that don't feel like toys anymore, that can really write text, that can really affect society and the world. And it's really important that as these models get more powerful, that we have a process in place that's accepted by the community for how to decide when to release and when not to.
Why am I only talking about OpenAI? I apologize if it's one-sided. At the same time, this is the actual start for us, or what you might want to call everyday people. What we recognize and know about started in late 2022, and OpenAI was first on the ball. There are other companies and models, Google with its Gemini, Chinese Qwen, who just released Qwen 3, DeepSeek, who is really breaking new boundaries in terms of how much it can cost to develop an LLM today. And of course, Meta, Grok, Anthropic, etc. There is a future here where generative AI is the foundation, the start of something. I want to emphasize again, the model we recognize is barely 3 years old. Everything is in its infancy. It's just a child, and we have no idea where it will take us. If you liked this video, please leave a like and consider following. Thanks for watching.